That's great. One of the kind of sub-themes that kind of emerged in the post this year was around Twitter, which you both mentioned, I think. And there's been a bit of a talk in the industry about the popularity and the rise of it and how everyone's been kind of jumping on. And the suggestion that microblogging, which I guess is one way you could define Twitter, could really end up surpassing the more traditional kinds that we have in this contest. I wondered, having won, what you guys thought. Will Twitter kill off regular blogs?
See, I do study finance as well. So one of my other blogs is in finance, and that actually, as a side story, is that did help with this contest. But in the idea of Twitter, my question about it is about revenue and what it can do. But then you ask yourself, what does Facebook do, or what do other blogs do besides generating content and making revenue from that? But Facebook took some of Twitter's style of short microblogs, and there's a trade-off with that, and so it kind of limits the content that's there. So I think it's still a very viable product, and a lot of the commercial companies are looking for ways to use that as part of their commercial tool. Yeah. So it's still up in the air with how it's going to be implemented, but I do believe that it's just here to stay, and it's something that's going to be a part of our natural lives.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think very similar to that. I think Twitter is definitely one of the few platforms in recent years that took me some time to wrap my arms around. And I think I definitely did a 180 on that platform. I think over the last, I would say, about 3 months, where much as Chris, you just mentioned, really looking to see what is the value proposition behind Twitter. This notion of microblogging in itself seems to be more of a time waster than anything else. And I think certainly I've seen that as a similar to Facebook in terms of that trusted network that you build, even though that's much more loosely coupled, I think, in Twitter. The fact still is that it's an opportunity for people to share, in this case, let's say, links or other blogs or information, and build up that that group of people that you follow, and over time those become a bit of your filters or your information mavens, so to speak, to kind of quote the tipping points from the perspective of what you kind of go after. And I actually think the value of Twitter, I've been using Twitter more and more as a search tool than as a messaging tool of late. I think there's definitely an intersection there. I think that's why we're hearing about in the news even this week about Google to buy Twitter or Microsoft to buy Twitter. I think we're sort of at a point if Google can buy Twitter, I think they're on an unstoppable kind of run. I think if someone else buys Twitter, it would be interesting, because I think that immediacy of search, search what's happening right now, something Twitter can definitely provide, which Google isn't quite there. So I think as we move forward, it'll be very interesting to see how that value proposition on Twitter continues to expand beyond this, the Oprah Winfrey and Ashton Kutcher type of value proposition, which is fairly weak, I think. So
there's a number of reasons we do this contest. Part of it is to engage with our community, and part of it's to build it. And I'm really excited about some of the friendships I've seen sort of start through the comments and so forth. The other thing that the reason I think this contest is important is because Computer World Canada, apart from telling people about technology, products and services and profiling people, is to help with some of the communication issues that are kind of rampant in IT, or maybe the poor communication. So, in a way, blogging is one skill that I think if you can become proficient at it and good at it, it might help lend itself to other kinds of situations where you're communicating either to distributed teams or in meetings or whatever. But I don't think we've seen as many IT professionals blogging as what we first thought might be the case. Whether they enter this contest at any time or not, do you have any advice maybe for people who, like yourselves, started from scratch, came out of nowhere, managed to become high profile, at least for our audience, and who managed to be really successful in developing kind of your own blogging style? What's kind of some good ways to begin?
I think when it comes to blogging, outside of the context of within a company, or removing all those potential barriers or complicating factors, I think if it's someone out there who feels like they have something to say, feels like blogging could be for them, my advice would be just get out there and do it. Barriers of entry are very low, and what I tend to counsel all bloggers around is the fact that just get used to the fact that you may be writing in a bit of a vacuum for up to a year. Don't expect to get viewers. Don't let that be your main motivation. Let your main motivation be actually doing the writing, getting those articles out, finding out what cadence, what frequency works for you. It may be just your mom and your wife actually reading it for the first year, but that's okay. And again, if the quality is there, and if you've managed to find that niche and be true to what it is that you're passionate about, that I think those if you write it, they will come. So.
Pedro Cardoso is the grand prize winner for this year's Blogging Idol, and Chris Lau is the winner for the most popular post. We'd like to thank everybody for their participation in Blogging Idol 2009, and we look forward to having you next year. For IT World Canada, I'm Schick. Thanks for watching.